Welcome back after quite a long break there, ladies and gents, to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne Europe Qualifier. We now enter our second last series of the night as we found out the previous winner after a long series.
That's right, we're coming towards the end of day 2 here, stage 2 of the Intel Extreme Masters European Cologne Qualifier. We can take a look at the bracket to update ourselves on the progress so far. We finished in the winner bracket, as you can see, with 4GG and Jack G being the two players to take the 2 qualification spots to the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne tournament. But then we can come down to the lower bracket where we find ourselves right now. Kane versus Stardust has just now finished, with Stardust taking the 2-0 and will now go up against Tefel, who's had an amazing run over these last couple of days. And then, of course, once we finish with Stardust versus Tefel, the winner plays Mana for the last slot available here in the qualifier.
Yes, yes. So, guaranteed to have at least one non-Terran in the tournament so far, as we've already had 5 advance on in the form of 4GG, Jack G, QXC, Polt, and Hero Marine. And then we're guaranteed a Zergo Protoss here. Maybe a Protoss, 2/3 chances of that happening.
Yeah, so we'll find out which player is it going to be. As we're about to get underway with our next game, the Vetoes are seconds away from beginning from what I can see. Do you have any favourites for this Stardust over Tefel? Tefel has had a pretty good run over the last few days, but of course it is Stardust, aka Cheese Dust, as he does like to call himself.
It's a very interesting choice of name for, well, or at least he's adorned it, being given it. I would say Stardust probably has the edge. Tefel's, when it comes to his when it comes to his ZVP, he often, and this has happened to him for a long time, he gets really stuck in the mid game. He has all of his focus on that mid game, but if he doesn't get past that, then there's no follow-up. And that's come back to punish him a lot.
For me, Tefel has always had one of the better early games when it comes to playing against Protoss players. He's very good at defending lots of different types of all-ins, and that is, of course, one of Stardust's strengths. So when it comes to these two players matching up against each other, even though I think Stardust is probably the favorite, with his traditional style of playing very aggressive in this matchup, I do think Tefel does have the tools necessary to defend against early attacks, and I think Stardust may need to look at different avenues to be able to beat him.
Yeah, I certainly think so. But we saw that Stardust in the previous series, going up against Kane, was willing to drag it out to longer stages and was able to take 2 strong macro games off of Kane, who is by no means a pushover.
Yeah.
Both in the My Insanity House, a bit of domestic violence there between them, to be able to settle a dispute who would advance on.
That's right. So the ladder map pool for this best of 3 is the complete ladder map pool that you would have played in, game out. Tefel was first to eliminate, and he did choose Yunsu, a popular veto, a popular elimination from Zerg players against Protoss players, a smaller, more difficult 2-player map. You'd have to deal with a lot of different types of aggression on it. Sometimes can be hard to hold. And then it looks like Stardust has chosen Altazim as the second map to be vetoed out here, which is the map that we saw between Mana and Nurture just a little bit ago. It is a big map and it is difficult to play on.
Yeah, certainly. And then Tefel actually saying it's a bit of a hard choice for his 3rd veto. So he gets rid of Habitation Station against our Protoss buddies here. So what is Stardust finally going to choose?
Yeah, maybe Polar Knight.
Probably.
Might be a good pick for him. Maybe the newer map, Daedalus could go as well. I think that might be probably the pick that Stardust would like to eliminate, leaving us with the last 3 remaining maps. Just waiting on Stardust veto now. And it's Polar Knight. So Daedalus is in the map pool here, a map that is quite popular to be eliminated.
Do you reckon Stardust will be willing to pull something pro-league-ish on Daedalus?
Maybe. What does Tefel do? Does Tefel open up with a Speedling opening to try to abuse the fact that it is very difficult to take a second base on there, the large ramp? We'll have to find out. We'll find out what the first map's going to be in a couple of seconds' time. I think it is Tefel to pick first. And I think Tefel would not want to play that and try to leave it towards the end. So I'd imagine that he'd pick maybe Frost would be his first map pick. Heavy Rain is the other one. alongside Daedalus.
I suppose one of the aspects of that, though, is if you're Tefel and you say, I don't want to play Daedalus first, then...
You're going to have to play it second, so...
Well,
not Daedalus, sorry.
Yeah, like Frost gets picked first
Yeah.
by Tefel, so that means Daedalus is almost certainly going to come third.
Yes.
Because Stardust isn't going to pick Daedalus as second.
So Frost is first. I think that's a good map pick here. And then I'd imagine Rain is the second pick, unless Stardust does have some special tactics planned to go over to that more difficult map for Protoss players. And we'll find out. So Frost is going to be the first map. So Frost being a 4-player map here. It's been played game in, game out. Was in last season's map pool as well in the StarCraft 2 ladder. And has quite a lot of games under its belt now.
Yeah, nice big map. Sometimes you do get a bit unfortunate with the spawning positions if you're not too fond of those closer ones. But cross positions on this map for me is a nice time. I enjoy it a lot.
I do enjoy it, and looks like the second map isn't going to be chosen for now. I suppose it doesn't really matter for the time being. It hasn't been written down at all, and everybody has joined the lobby, so I suppose we'll be jumping into this game momentarily. But Tefel has had a bit of a blaster run, to be honest, beating Grubby first of all as versus Protoss, and now made his way through to just a couple of games short of being able to qualify for the Intel Extreme Masters. It would be a dream come true if he was able to make it through the 16 players that qualified through into Stage 2 today. There are quite a few good players that have been eliminated so far. 2 Koreans have advanced through. There is one more looking to take the 3rd slot. All 3 could be occupied by 3 Koreans unless Tefel or Mana have a say in the matter.
Yep. Polish representative is going to try and knock out the final Korean down in that lower bracket. Even Tefel was saying in the chat that he doesn't want 3 Koreans to be there. He wants one of the Polish to be able to take them out and then advance on. He'd be very happy if it was 2 Poles in that final spot placement. Mana, meanwhile, I've said to him before, I was like, oh, you're doing pretty well this past couple of days. He's like, actually, I'm just improvising. I'm not good. He's very humble, his Mana, actually.
Yeah, improvising, getting his way through to towards the end of a tournament is quite nice. So this is he's had also a good run. But is it going to be a Korean or Polish player that's going to take this 2nd spot? And well, if Tefel's able to win here, it's guaranteed a Polish player as the 3rd place finisher in today's qualifier. Game's about to start. Both players have said good luck, have fun to each other, and are now ready to begin. I'd have to favour Stardust going into this best of 3 series. I think it's going to be difficult for Tefel. But Tefel's run so far in day 1 in Stage 1 and day 2 in Stage 2 has been quite impressive. Let's hope that he can continue on.
Bizarrely, it just said that you disconnected from the lobby on mine, but you're still in the lobby.
Yeah.
Look at that. Strange, right? Unless there's another Apollo. Do you have more people called Apollo in your clan?
No.
No? Just you. That's really strange. So, yeah, we'll be getting on with this just a second.
Sure.
Stardust says, I want to go Germany. German, ?
I want to go to Germany for the Intel Extreme Masters.
Oh, okay. This makes way more sense now. All right. So, as we said, Frost is that first map. And for Tefel, I'm looking to see what he's going to do beyond the mid-game. As you rightly pointed out, he's very good at stopping some earlier aggressive moves from Protoss players. But then I do feel that he gets himself in a bind when it comes to that mid-game. I've very rarely seen Tefel get past the mid-game in this matchup.
Does he die or win?
He dies, yeah, exactly. That's all that happens. There's never the transition. So, countdown's begun for game number 1 between Tefel and Stardust. Stardust, obviously, one of the strongest Koreans currently living in Europe, as there's becoming quite a few of them. Even people moving over to the Alien Invasion's house.
G,
Mr. Patience.
MC Patience.
Yeah. MC recently got back over here and is now here for quite a while. So that is going to be a lot of fun to see how MC is going to compete. Obviously, he'll be competing in WCS Europe as well as every single European tournament there ever was.
Yeah.
So guys, let's jump into game number 1. Tefel and Stardust here on Frost. Spawning down to the bottom left as our red Protoss. It's My Insanity Stardust. And up to the top left, we have Mr. Dignitas Tefel.
All right, so is Cheese Dust going to be able to bulldoze his way through like he has done multiple times before in good level international tournaments through aggressive plays, or is Tefel going to be the hero to stop the Korean in his path? Luckily for Tefel, his first overlord is making its way towards the base of the Protoss player, And he will be able to get a bit of a heads up nice and early on.
Yeah, very nice for him. And then, you know, he'll be able to send his overlords in respective directions from that point on once he knows that everything's going on. So once he knows where his opponent's... and he's going to have a pretty good heads up as to what his opponent's build's going to be.
That's right, yeah. I mean, in this position, when you send the first overlord all the way down, you're going to be able to see Gateway or Nexus early on. But the thing is, with a Gateway opening is what we're probably going to see here from Stardust. The Overlord's going to get chased away quite fast in this game, because what we should see is the Mothership core, and then quite an early Stalker once the 7-8 core and gas have been successfully mined. And then with the Stalker, it's going to be very difficult to get in there to spot exactly what Stardust has planned, because that's the unit that I'm pretty sure we'll eventually see pop out.
Oh yeah, definitely. And, well, Stardust, Tefel even, as always, it doesn't matter what matchup it is, even if it's against Terrans, it's always spawning pool first. He likes to play very, very safe against everybody, and again, it's just Tefel's thing, really. He just makes sure that he's well hunkered down.
Yeah, I mean, he lowers his economy by a little bit, but he almost has a 100% win record against any early aggression at all. But he just doesn't instantly lose versus a cannon rush, a gateway attack, double barracks, because he does this against Terran as well. It's just an instant win for him. And with the Overlord now making its way through into the main base of the Protoss player, I'd imagine, especially Tefel being a more defensive player and quite solid in the early stages, would want to take an extractor immediately so he can start to get towards that Zergling speed, and then eventually towards Roaches if anything really fully committed came from Stardust from a gateway timing. Yeah,
he already notices that the probe has moved out, but in turn that gives Stardust the indication that his opponent would be up north, but he's actually going the other way with the probe. So interesting here from Stardust, actually.
Yeah, well, he's going to see the Overlord 100% now, so I'm not sure where that probe is exactly going. Maybe it's trying to hide something later on. He knows his opponent's in top left. You cannot get an Overlord down there that fast, that early. So he should know absolutely his opponent is top left.
But I guess he's just sent it on rally and it's just going all the way around. But a little bit bizarre there by Stardust, as he does start his Nexus, and all the while during this, Tefel has gained almost enough gas here to start up his speed and keep himself well defended.
Yes, he has, and that's the most important part of why you get the extractor, to get that Zergling speed out early on. But one thing to note, Stardust has not taken a second gas early here, and he's able to throw down a gateway inside his main base, and he's probably going to throw down 2 gateways, at least 1, maybe 2, on his natural, going for a total of 4.
All
so
right.
with 4 gateways down and a probe already out on the map, but even though that probe may not be used, definitely looking to be a little bit aggressive here, hiding that gateway all the way back. He's thrown a couple of chrono boosts into the cybercore already throughout this game. We are going to see a 4 gateway attack. At least Tefel has the tools necessary to defend it with Zergling speed being researched, but does he have the actual units out?
That is a good question. It really is. I'm surprised we haven't seen maybe a sprinkling, 1 or 2 Zerglings there from Tefel to try and hunt down that probe if it were to, you know, still linger on. But for now, Tefel seems very comfortable to just keep macroing up, droning up. He's going to get his 3rd base in a very aggressive position.
Yep, he's taking a forward base here, and that is absolutely going to be the destination where Stardust wants to attack too. There are 18 links coming out, though, and that's quite early. The Mothership core's over there. He's seen the double gateways there. He knows Stardust's personality, which is very aggressive. And so he's built quite a few. He started to drone up a little bit again. Doesn't want to over-drone here, as Stardust is playing this very patiently, waiting on the right-hand side. Do we see more drones come out next, or more units is the big question before he spots these Zealots.
Yeah, the Roach Warren is on the way here. And
3 drones, but he should be able to hold this off.
Yeah, he's still got a little bit of lava that he can add on a few more units with, but this Mothership core has actually done quite a bit of damage to that hatchery already. It's going to join with the Zealots as well to push away the Queen, and then these Zealots, as well as Mothership core, can reign supreme here for just a second. Probe ends up dying, but there's still that pylon that he desperately wants to save.
Yeah, and he's going to pick off 1 Zealot at the back and then run away, I'd imagine. He doesn't want to take too much damage from these Zealot swipes. The Roach Warren is almost finished. He definitely needs to be building Roaches immediately here, as the Zealot count's becoming big, and he may lose his 3rd. He does not want to lose his 3rd.
And he actually forces the cancellation during all of that. Yes, he can use the Zealots to deny the pylon, but he's almost certainly...
I would go back now if I'm Stardust. Job done. You kill the 3rd. You've lowered your opponent's economy and production. And behind this, with the robotics facility being made, he could try to follow this up with an Immortal attack. He also could just go all the way up to Colossus, but I think the Immortal attack's quite a good one here.
Yep, I do too. One sentry is going to have its work cut out for it at the front here once this all starts occurring. A few more do get warped in. Obviously, he'll need those later on.
He can actually snipe this hatchery here if he goes for it. I'm not sure if he knows that there's no units popping out.
Yeah, there's 4 roaches in production. They're a long way away, as you rightly point out, and double time warps to try and slow down some of those units so the Zealots can catch up with them, bring down those numbers.
At the other side does get broken into.
Now the force field goes down to deny those Zerglings from actually fully getting in. Very clutch there by Stardust.
Yeah. And look at this, Stardust is in his opponent's mineral line. He's not mining, which furthers his attack success rate because his opponent isn't mining. He's not increasing his economy, which can increase his army strength. And so this Immortal attack is absolutely inevitable from this position.
Resources lost, slowly evening up as those Zealots die off for Stardust. And but he gets another Queen, and that Mothership core is still being very, very pesky. So how many Immortals does he have out right now? Just the one?
But he can wait till 3. There's definitely enough time to go up. Well, he may go with 2, but he could wait till 3. Just needs to build it. I'm not sure why he's not building this right now. He needs to actually build. He doesn't quite have enough gas. He just had a sentry, though. That's a little mistake there. Did slow him down a little bit, but absolutely should be going for an attack very soon here. He's added on 4 extra gateways. Needs to make sure he is walled off. He'll probably go with 2. I think waiting for 3 is a little bit too long here. 2 is fine.
Tefel's looking to add on the Hydralisk then, so if he can get up to some good Hydralisk numbers, then he'll be able to shut this down pretty simply, but at the same time, does he get enough out is the big question, which is probably going to be, the answer is going to be no.
Yeah, it's going to be very hard to hold on because sure, Hydralisks are great, they do excellent damage, but he can't have that many of them because he doesn't have that high of economy through losing his 3rd base early on, through having a lot of lack of mining time on the natural. And throughout this game, Stardust has absolutely played this out very smartly. He's done a lot of damage. He's following it up with a strong all-in, a strong execution-based build, and he is looking to kill his opponent. Does Tefel have enough to be able to build an army sizable to stop what's coming?
It's a strong army here from Stardust. 11 sentries, all slowly amassing energy, and he's going to hit. If he can hit in the right positions as well, he doesn't really need too many force fields to really seal off areas. So it's Hydras, Hydras, Hydras.
Yeah, it's just going to come down to the force fields here. If he lands them perfectly, traps the right amount of units, he's added in Stalkers now, so the Stalkers can fire over the force fields that he's going to land. And hopefully we'll be able to nail this. Let's find out if he can.
High ground advantage goes to Tefel. Stardust, the Jedi here, has to be a little bit careful. He's going to break down the rocks and then make it a bit easier for himself to push on forwards. But Tefel's got a good concave set up at the top here. So force fields, going to have to be key, going to have to be very important. Throws down a few preemptive ones. Guardian Shield goes up as well. It's going to negate a lot of that range damage. He captures a lot of the units in the middle. A lot of the units at the back are being negated in terms of damage, but Tefel finds a small nook and cranny over on the right-hand side. Drones have to come off the line, though, for Tefel. He feels he's in a little bit of trouble. There's 2 Immortals. They're still dishing out a lot of damage, but the concave for Tefel was really good.
Yeah, it's good. And there's 16 Hydros there. That's quite a lot considering his economy's been low throughout this game. He's firing over the force fields. There's not too much vision up there.
Oh, those Immortals, they're way too close. And there you go, GG. Tefel is able to take it. Really good concave, really good defensive setup.
Yeah, considering the circumstances, how much pressure he was under, he was able to pull out the defense, even though it seemed it would be a hard one. Stardust thought he could be able to win the game. Considering the amount of damage he dealt throughout it, it did look pretty good, but Tefel's fantastic spread of units and his ability to fight on the high ground was able to secure the defense. And once again, as mentioned at the start of this series, Tefel's key ability against good Protoss players is the fact that he can stop these type of all-ins. He's very good at defending them. He's very defensively set up, and once again proves it against Stardust.
I would say he's one of the best European Roach Hydra users in terms of that mid-game, because he finds himself in that spot so often with Roach Hydra constantly. I mean, a lot of Zergs do, obviously, but he's very, very good about setting himself up in that regard. And now we're just waiting for the second map. It's going to be Heavy Rain. No surprises there, with Daedalus still being left in. Stardust will want to go to Daedalus on his last chance.
Well, the thing is, he may have to go to that anyway if he wins this next one, doesn't he? So he would have liked to have won the first map there to try to avoid that map, as he did have a couple of others that he wanted to veto out before it, so it may not be the worst map for him. But either case, we're about to get ready to load into map number 2. It is Tefel who currently leads in this series 1-0. being able to fight off the DreamHack Summer Champion of 2013, and of course a fantastic Mind Sanity player in the likes of Stardust. But it is Tefel in the driving seat with 2 games to go. He has room for error, but all he needs to do ultimately is make sure he can find out what's going on, hold on against what's coming, and glide to victory.
And Heavy Rain's one of those maps where Stardust does have the opportunity to put on some earlier pressure as well. So as long as Tefel just sniffs it out, as you rightly say, that could be okay for him. But we could see Stardust try and macro in a similar vein to what we saw him playing against Kane in the previous series. So anything's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll see what's going to happen here. Lots of choices to be made, builds to be chosen, strategies to be forced out. Who's going to choose what? Well, Heavy Rain will help decide here for these 2 players. I've had a lot of fun on Heavy Rain. It's actually not too bad of a map. But I think I have an incline that Stardust may be aggressive once again.
Well, let's jump into game number 2 to see if he is as aggressive as you may think, as we do have him spawning up to the northern position as our red Protoss, and then down to the south. Currently 1 game up for Poland. For Dignitas, he's Tefel.
Let's find out what's going to be chosen here. Is it Gateway or Nexus opening, or should I say Forge opening from Stardust? It looks like he's switching it up a little bit here. Going over towards a pylon on the low ground, which would tell us that he does want to try to take a second base pretty fast in this game. And usually when you try to play this style, there's really only one way to go. It's usually just for the Stargate play.
Yep.
It's the only really structure that gives you the ability to harass and have some form of control in the game. Otherwise, you just hand it over to the Zerg player for a long time, basically.
Yeah,
and that will allow so much freedom for Tefel.
You're right. It gives him free reign over the entire map and just whatever he really wants to do. And that's just not something you want to give a Zerg nowadays. The Stargate opener, very, very nice. And there's so many options from it as well, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so many different options to be chosen from, for sure.
All right, well, this being the Forge Fast Expand, or at least Nexus first or Forge, regardless whatever it is, Tefel is not going to deviate from his normal plan, which is always spawning pull, and then just playing it out a bit more safely.
Yeah, with this Nexus first that we're going to see out from Stardust, Tefel will be looking to take a pretty fast third himself here. He won't take the Extractor like he did previously, because obviously there's no gateway, so he doesn't need to feel threatened, like there was the option of that threatening coming in the last game, which actually ended up happening. So he played it out really smartly, read into the build quite well, and was able to set up a kind of defense, which didn't work out too well. But Tefel, it was you lagging.
1000 MS Tefel. That's
That was you, mate.
Sorry, Tefel. Sorry.
Yeah, so I think that yeah, he's having a second. So yeah, the Overlord obviously is going to go over there quite fast and see this Nexus, and from there on out, we'll just take a fast third base. And it'll be the third base that will set up the triangular formation for Tefel.
Yep.
Or the V shape, should I say.
V for victory, man.
Let's hope so, for his sake.
Yeah. Certainly looking for that. Doesn't want to go to a third game. But even if he does go to a third game, he has a pretty nice map for him in hand. As Tefel's going to poke forwards, see this wall, and be like, oh, that's what you're doing.
Yeah, and his second Overlord, which is on his natural, is just actually coming back to check if there's any cannon rush. We'll turn around immediately again, hopefully, and just go towards the back of Stardust's base. Because when you play this style against a Protoss player, and you know that you're not in any threat anytime soon, is that you absolutely need to be looking in. I think it's around the 6-minute mark, maybe just a little bit after, is when the first tech structure actually pops up. So that's when your Overlords are going to go in to try find out. Tefel was a little bit slow moving his second Overlord back around, but it should be able to get there kind of in time, but he'll most likely have to rely on the Overlord, which is going to hide behind the natural Nexus of Stardust instead.
Yeah, there's a lot of room there to hide back. You can only really get access to that location as a Protoss player if you do have Stargate. So, and even if you do go there with a Stargate unit, you're still revealing what's going on anyway. So it's a really, really nice Overlord location.
All right, well, so far we have not seen a third baseman look to be taken yet from Tefel. I'm sure that will be on the cards very, very soon here. And I wonder what we will see out from Stardust when he makes a decision on what tech structure to choose.
Yeah, he's just banking up a little bit of gas here off the 2 gas guys as he's sending a probe across to make sure he can confirm what's going on. Tefel's gonna try and claim a third base, but Stardust arrives just in time to be a little bit annoying.
Yeah, he's going to slow that down, and if you look at it, there's no Zerglings that have been made because he's playing kind of greedy to the build that he's realized. There was no early probe, he didn't really need to build anything, but luckily for him, the probe actually allowed him to take that. If a pylon had been placed, absolutely could have blocked, but at the same time, would have been almost a bit of waste of money from Stardust, which would have slowed him from throwing down the rest of his build, which, as we can see, is the Stargate that he's chosen. And Tefel's going to have to go in at that 6-minute mark to find out what it is, where it is, what's being built.
And the Overlord's moved over to the left-hand side here, just to... I'm not quite sure why, but aside from that, he'll have access to the majority of the natural. He'll be able to go in there and see what's going on. Meanwhile, the right-hand side Overlord's still trundling along, having a bit of a harder time getting into optimum position.
Yeah. And the probe has been allowed to run away there. It had been followed by an Overlord, or at least been spotted by an Overlord, but was allowed to go to the bottom left. This could mean that we could see this used later on, definitely to build a pylon to launch an aggressive standpoint from, but it is Phoenix play. Unfortunately, so far for Tefel, he has no idea. In a lot of Zerg vs Protoss games, you can almost assume that it is going to be Stargate play. It's a lot rarer to see Twilight Council Robotics Facility, and with the Phoenix now targeting onto the Overlord, he now does know that he is playing against Phoenix play. The question is for Tefel, what's next? What's the follow-up? Is it Robotics Facility? Is it a bunch of gateways? Is it a fast third?
Yeah, and this pylon, this probe still down to the bottom left is still untracked by the Zerglings. They were having a look around, but couldn't find it in the end. The Robo starts up, and Phoenix production still continues, whilst Tefel is slightly supply blocked here. And he's just adding on that Roach Warren for insurance purposes.
Bit of a mistake, actually, not having Overlords being built, knowing that you're about to lose a couple of Overlords. It's slowed him down quite a bit, as you can see.
Yeah, he's about to have 4 pop, but they, as you rightly point out, they should be there a little bit quicker. And we have the first Roach gracing its presence on the map.
Yeah, not sure why exactly, because he doesn't really need a Roach at the moment.
I mean, he could have quite easily kind of transitioned onto Lair, I guess, and got Hydralisk there now pretty quick. Oh, there you go.
He's got it all ready to go. It's just that one Roach, maybe a bit of a mistake. He doesn't need a Roach at all. But anyway, we do see straight up to the Robotics Bay before adding on extra gateways, which means he's able to take a much faster third base here. If he'd added on 2 or 3 more gateways, he would have been safer against any, Roaches or Lings coming across the map. But he has a much faster Nexus in return. But we do have 9 Roaches that are continuing to be built.
Yeah.
So
it could go.
With the Roaches being built like this, and just a handful of extra units, it's kind of like Tefel has no idea what's going on, because it's a bit of both. He's building drones and units without really committing to either fully, because he hasn't fully saturated himself, and he hasn't fully built a strong army either.
And the thing is that, with all this investment into 4 Phoenix, they're not going to be too useful if we see Tefel try and go. But if he was going to go straight, I would have expected muscular augments as opposed to groove spines from that Hydralisk Den. But
he's playing super safe, but it's almost to his detriment in this game. Because he's built these Roaches and then Hydras, then a few drones, then a few Hydras, and then Hydras. And now he's starting to ramp up his actual army size. He's finally at a decent saturation across 3 bases, but he could have been there earlier if he hadn't have built these units. But that has now given Stardust the freedom to have this third base up. And to be honest, if we see the flow of units, which we should see come across the map, I would say that Stardust is in prime position to hold on. With a faster Robotics Bay, and Colossus already out, number 1, and a second one to be queued up in a second, with Photon Overcharge on the 3rd Nexus and a cannon already there, it's going to be very difficult for Tefel to break this third base.
Yeah, the Roach Hydra are going to have to do a lot of work. A lot of work. And Stardust now, he's even just going to break down these destructible rocks, make it even harder for his opponent to really breach that location. But the army is already moving across. Army supplies is 77 to 33, but like 4 extra gateways have just finished up, so that gateway count is going to increase very, very quickly.
Remember that Tefel has got the Carapace upgrade, which does help out a little bit here, but he doesn't have the Zergling upgrade for speed here, so he isn't going to be able to reinforce super fast to this. With the second Colossus about to pop as these units come across, with good force fields, he has about 6 force fields, could easily warp in a couple more sentries. With Time Warp and a Photon Overcharge pretty much available, he should be able to hold on this fine. He knows it's coming. The force fields need to be good, and he can hold this.
This is actually a really good angle that we're seeing Tefel come in from, but Photon Overcharge is activated. Thermal Lance is just about to finish. It's 2 seconds from finishing. Finishes just in the start of this fight, and Roaches and Hydras, they're going to have the hardest time breaking past the force fields, trying to get to those 2 Colossi, because the Colossi could just walk up onto the high ground right behind it.
Absolutely. He's going to take a bit of damage here. Pulling probes off, I think, is a little bit unnecessary there. As he does pull back, he just needs to warp in more Zealots. He eventually will be able to clean this up, and he just needs to keep on holding strong. Did he lose the Mothership Core? Yes! Oh, that would have been very crucial in a secondary Photon Overcharge here. So there's definitely an option here for Tefel to break through.
Yeah, if he keeps on reinforcing, especially that third base is going to go down. There's just not enough gateway units. Despite him adding on the 5, the base will end up falling.
That's a big win there.
Yeah, it really is.
A massive win. Not quite enough force fields. Photon Overcharge, second one was gone. No time warp available. Shouldn't have lost the Mothership Core. Phoenixes weren't used in the fight either.
I have to attribute it to the great angle that he came in from, as I said. It was it was the best angle he could have possibly chosen in that situation.
All right, well, this is absolutely prime position for Tefel. Now look at his supply, 166 to 98. And he's leading in this game, and now Stardust is on the ropes and is in a very, very difficult position.
I think he just adds on the gateways and tries to go again with the Colossi numbers he's got, because at least, I mean, he kind of gets the inkling that his opponent probably doesn't have kind of Corruptor numbers. There might be a Spire going down behind this. He doesn't quite know. He's using the Phoenix to harass, but hasn't seen a Spire just yet.
No, he hasn't indeed, and maybe this third base just a little bit tad too greedy for Stardust. But either case, he's at 4 Colossus.
That's a lot of power.
There's no Spire.
Yeah.
So it's still only just Roach and Hydra, but does he have enough support around the Colossus to make them efficient enough? He needs to get out there to take a new base soon.
It's just going to be full Stalkers with Blink and try and go for that.
I mean, he's got 1,500 minerals. He needs to throw down that third Nexus here. He's not mining gas properly on the natural either. He's got 2 out of 3 in the assimilator on the left one, which is hurting his gas just a little bit here.
There's the third again, but Tefel's army, if he establishes himself a good concave once again, it forces the cancellation. This is just too hard here for Stardust.
Yeah, but I'm still thinking that full cost is very, very strong here.
It is. And he's using them very well.
Good spread, no support units, or not enough support units. Nexus has to get cancelled again. More Stalkers getting warped in. Stardust may just eventually just move over the map soon. I mean,
every time Stardust tries to push out there and tries to establish his third, the earlier he keeps trying it, it's like, if it doesn't work, he's trading away units constantly. And it's still a very nice concave here for Tefel, who tries to close the gap. There's not that many gateway units. He has to be careful with those Colossi. They are dishing out a lot of damage. But now their distance has been closed. One will fall, as will a second.
Yeah, that's losing a lot there. And behind this, remember, the Hive is about to complete, and he's going straight up to Vipers. And with only 2 Colossus remaining out of 5, it's going to be very easy for the Vipers to pull the remaining 2 into the Roach Hydra army. And with the Vipers just using their Abduct skill, he can play it defensively, he can play it aggressively. It doesn't really matter which way.
This is 100% what we were talking about before. Tefel, mid-game, absolutely loves it. Of course, the Vipers do give him that transitionary ability here to just make it really hard for Stardust to do anything.
This is crazy. And, you know, Tefel could be in with an opportunity, and he absolutely is in with this opportunity to knock out Stardust from the qualifier, prevent him from playing in the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne tournament, and having the opportunity to go and play himself if he's able to beat Mana in the next round.
He's moving out. It's an ambitious move here for Stardust. I'm not quite sure where he's going, and he's going to get chased completely down. There's nothing he can do there.
Yep, Tefel's going to move across the map. He's going to bring a couple of Vipers, which are now ready to load and pull over. And we are going to see the Colossus just get ripped out here. Vipers are ready. There's 3 of them. 1 abduct each. The last Colossus is going to have to be beaten up by the Roach and Hydras. Going to be a scary fight, this one, for Stardust. He's got no feedbacks. He's got no Templar Archives. 2 feedback from the High Templar.
And he's going to come in from exactly the same angle again. He's just going to separate these 2 chunks of units up, and Stardust, I think he'll be better prepared for it this time on the angle, but how well can he really do? Where are the abducts? Nice blink forwards, actually! Catches 2 of those Vipers before they even abduct. The third Colossus, 4th Colossus does get dragged forward, but now the Roach and Hydralisk numbers do swell. They're on the hunt, they're on the prowl, they're trying to catch those 4 Colossi where they can, and they're in no man's land. They are on the wrong side of the tracks.
Yeah, that was wonderful that you kept all 4 Colossus alive there in a fight that you wouldn't have thought so, but the third Nexus does die. These Colossus doing so much damage.
Very good control from Stardust considering, but he has no backup support. The Colossi are stranded. The last second to last one will end up falling, and, well, one lone Hydralisk comes from the back and says,
and
not that way.
Colossus is going to die, which means there is nothing left for Stardust, and Tefel takes him out 2-0 and finds himself playing in an all-Polska lower bracket final.
Tefel stepped it up as well, as did Mana throughout this tournament. So did Tefel, and those two Polish players going to represent to see who will advance on to Intel Extreme Masters Cologne.
Poland holds strong, Kolaris, in the lower bracket here, as it's now Tefel versus Mana in the next round. We'll be jumping into that almost immediately for you to find out who will take the last spot to join Jackji and 4GG to play live on the Intel Extreme Masters Cologne tournament in just a couple of weeks' time.
And Tefel does have the higher seed here in terms of the bracket, so he will be choosing apparently A or B to see who is going to be vetoing first here going into this final best of 3. But either player who advances on, be it Mana, be it Tefel, both of these guys have shown that they are worthy of a spot. Whoever goes on forwards, I'm not going to be disappointed. They've shown some really good games this weekend.
Yep, some fantastic games we've seen over the last 2 days in Stage 1 and Stage 2. And I'm looking forward to seeing 4GG Jackji join the likes of Hero Marine, Pult, and QXC live in Cologne, in the very city, in the very studios that we are in right now. It's going to be a great tournament. Looking forward to that one.
Yep, so am I. Obviously, we've got Intel Extreme Masters Sao Paulo before that. And then after Cologne, going into March, we have Katowice, the World Championship, which if you're not planning on going to Spodek and Katowice just yet, you probably want to plan to go because it's going to be as awesome as it was last time. More awesome than it was last time.
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to it. Last time was electrifying. It was really nice.
It was a beautiful tournament, and I'm sure this one will be just the same. Lots on the line, lots to play for in the Intel Extreme Masters World Championship. The end of Season 8 is upon us. Just a couple of stops left of the tour so far. Of course, Shanghai, Singapore, and New York, the 3 previous stops. 2 more to go before the World Championship.
Yeah, we've had a lot of fun, actually, over in Shanghai. Oh, I absolutely loved the food in Shanghai. That was really nice. Singapore had its own loveliness as well. Then where else were we? We were
New York.
That's the one, New York Comic Con. How can I forget it?
That's right.
Comic Con. Actually, every stop's been really, really fun.
Yeah, season's been a great season, Season 8, and I'm sure Season 9 will continue to do the same next year or later on this year towards the end of it, I suppose, is when Season 9 starts up again. But for now, we are now ready, or almost ready, for the next game. It looks like Mana and Tefel just taking a couple of seconds before we do jump into this.
Yeah.
And
somebody left.
I'm not sure why, but whatever.
Yeah.
So just the last game, one remaining game for this 2-day qualifier. And it's been quite a good tournament. And do remember, there still is the chance, I suppose, in this last game to win this signed plastic thing in front of us. It's the number plate for your car. You can win it very simply by just really jumping over to facebook.com, which I don't have open right now, but facebook.com/ESLTV. And from there, all you need to do is like the comment, which is on the left-hand side. Very simple, very easy. www.facebook.com/ESLTV. On the left-hand side, there is a post which has a picture of me on the front of it, which you can go ahead and write a comment on. And you have the chance to win, and the winner will be decided throughout this game, I suppose.
Yeah, we could do it in between the games. We could do it after the games. We could do it whenever we want, I guess.
Yeah.
We have the power, apparently. All right, so is Mana back? No. Tefel's around, as he just won, so of course he's kind of around and waiting to get into this final series. Tefel and Mana have both met each other quite a bit. The funny thing is that Tefel actually plays a more Polish EPS than Mana does.
Yeah.
You'd be actually surprised at how little EPS that Mana and Nurcio play. They're off winning bigger and better things, I suppose, being StarCraft 2 millionaires and super cool dudes. But Tefel plays it quite a bit. I think, I can't remember 100%, but I think Dystar might have won the last one. I don't follow the Polish EPS too much. I only really follow the German one since we're in this particular scene. But yeah, Tefel just really has proven himself in the Polish community, the international community, through qualifying and doing pretty well at WCS last year, to be one of the strongest Polish contenders. In fact, I would say he is probably top 3 with Mana and Nurtio at this point.
Absolutely. He's been playing very well recently, having re-signed with Team Dignitas to extend his contract over the year that he first initially signed for. And, well, still waiting on Mana. Not too sure where he did disappear to right towards the end there.
I think he's back now. So.
Oh, is he back now?
Yeah, he's just starting Vetoes. I need to Vetoes Daedalus first.
Okay, good. So we are starting the Vetoes for this final game. And from what I can tell, the competition is almost under wraps. So get your last shouts in, and we'll be able to tell very, very shortly for this plastic number plate for your car in front of us.
Thingy, yeah. It's a pretty cool little plate. I wanted one when they first got brought in, but sadly can't have it. So it looks like Tefel actually hasn't vetoed at all just yet.
So,
so
what was the first veto then?
Daedalus, yeah.
An expected veto here from Mana, the Protoss player. A more difficult map to play on, considering.
Yeah.
But if we look at the two play styles from both players, they do have a very similar play style. They do play both relatively defensive. Tefel, of course, we just saw that he's pretty good at playing defensive, but also can turn the switch on when necessary, which he did in that previous game. But Mana usually is more defensive, naturally, but had been in the past been forced to play a little bit more aggressive in this matchup specifically because he wasn't so comfortable the longer the game got on. But as of recently, he has gone back to his more defensive nature and has been playing a very simple Stargate Colossus Void Ray style, which you've seen game in, game out, time after time after time. And from what I've been told, we do have a winner for the competition, which has been decided now.